Hello, today's session is basically for university instructors and teachers of academic writing and academic writing students. It focuses on maintaining objectivity in academic writing. Which is a problem that is common among academic writing students, which is the lack of objectivity. So in order to delve deeper into that topic, I'll be first skating over the main features of academic writing, and then I'll be focusing on objectivity strategies. And finally, I'll be sharing some activities to help students apply objectivity tools. So let's get started. As you know, the academic writing stands on 6 main features. First, it has to have structure, or it has to be paragraphed or demonstrated in the form of paragraphs that show the organization and development of ideas. The second feature is to have evidence. And this means that any statements provided in the essay or the article have to be supported with enough resources and examples to guarantee credibility. The third feature is critical thinking. Academic writers have to demonstrate that they can think critically and that they can analyze claims and ideas and answer questions like how and why. Besides, any piece of academic writing has to be accurate. And this means that any words or structures that students pick or select for the building of their article or academic article or essay have to be precise and reflecting the precise and proper meaning. And this entails that we teach them to check dictionaries in order to trace the precision of the words they use, and also the precision of the collocations they utilize in their academic writing. The fifth feature is objectivity. And by this we mean that any piece of academic writing has to show that it considers all points of view. It's not biased to a specific viewpoint. It does not reflect the beliefs and preferences of the writer. So this is highly crucial to be taught to students. The sixth feature is formality, that the academic article or essay is highly formal piece of writing, and this means that the types of words and structures used in those examples have to be typical to the ones used in the academia, not, for example, the ones used in everyday conversations or spoken language. Okay, so moving from that broader umbrella of the features of academic writer down to one specific feature, which is objectivity. So try to imagine with me that we have 2 major goals in order to be objective as an academic writing. First, you have to show how strong or clear your argument is. You have to reflect clarity and that your argument is presented clearly and adequately. The second goal is that I have to demonstrate that I'm not enforcing my point of view or my cultural background or my predilection on the readers. In other words, I have to show that I'm less certain so that I leave way to other considerations or viewpoints. So in order to help our students to achieve these 2 goals, we need to teach them some linguistic tools to help them implement that. Those strategies include boosters, hitches, and the passive voice. So to start with boosters, as we said, are linguistic tools to help demonstrate clarity and show how strong and clear an argument is. And they cover a wide range of word classes. They can be verbs, they can be adjectives or adverbs. For example, indicate, explicate, elucidate, clarify. I'll be showing examples of boosters shortly in the presentation. Adjectives like evident, self-evident, conspicuous, vivid, and clear-cut. Adverbs include firmly, absolutely, definitely, certainly, highly, enormously, and extensively. Moving on to the hedges. The hedges are no different from the boosters, but this time the hedges do two further things. They reflect politeness, which is relevant to the academic writing work, that you have to be polite and formal. And the second thing, they show that you leave way to other viewpoints and considerations. Again, they cover a wide range of word classes. You can use verb hedges, adjective hedges, adverbs, modals, and impersonal structures. So, for example, you can use suggest, intimate, maintain, and those are examples of verb hedges. You can find a ton of examples of hedges in the websites I leave at the end of this presentation. Adjectives include presumable, probable, feasible, contingent, and as you can see, all of these adjectives reflect probability. Adverbs like presumably, probably, likely, and likely, possibly, and feasibly. Modals encompass could, would, may, and might. For the impersonal structures from their nomenclature, impersonal, they do not reflect personal or subjective beliefs. They are impersonal. So they can be demonstrated by the structure of it plus the passive. For example, it is indicated that, and then a clause. It was recommended that, a clause. It's been implied that, and then a clause. Okay, so all of these tools reduce bias. The third strategy is the use of the passive voice, and it's a crucial tool because, again, it shows politeness, it shows formality, and it focuses more on ideas. For example, those statements are held true. Recent efforts have been made to combat pollution. So in that sense, the students are focusing on the ideas, the actions, rather than the doors. So now moving on to examples in action or real examples in academic research papers of hedges, passive voice, and boosters. So as you can see, I highlighted some examples, and you can screen academic papers for more if you wish. For example, in the first paragraph, we have an example of modals. People can control the environmental factors. In the second paragraph, we have suggest, which is an example of hedges. Seem, which is a linking verb, an example of hedges as well. Another example is nation maintains that one needs to be exposed to a word from 5 to 16 times to fully learn it. So this is an example of the use of hedges. And moving on to further examples. In this paragraph, we have, or in this first paragraph, we have examples of the use of the passive voice. And as you can see here, it's used to add formality and to focus on the ideas and the findings. For example, not all groups of people have been sufficiently studied. Not all cognitive aspects have been studied. In the second paragraph, we have an example of a booster, which is demonstrated by a verb. For example, most of the results so far indicate the cognitive function is not affected significantly by short-term fasting. Towards the end, we have possible, which is an example of hedging, demonstrated by an adjective. And these are more examples for the boosters. For example, the figures in the tables are highly suggestive. It's evident that the vaccine is effective. So these examples, highly and evident, demonstrate or add clarity to the statements or to the arguments provided in the academic papers. Well, now it's time for the activities. How can I render the idea or convey the idea of applying objectivity tools to my students? So here are two ideas, and you can find lots of other ideas or think of others on your own. You can find other ideas online, and also you can devise more ideas on your own. So for example, the first activity is magazine editor. And the purpose of this activity is to help your students identify and apply objectivity strategies. All what you need for this activity is a poster of objectivity tools, a short essay text that is highly biased. You can create it yourself to guarantee that it's highly biased. Newspaper sheets and markers. And for this, you need to divide your students into groups. Members in a group work together to identify areas of bias and lack of clarity. They make use of the objectivity tools posted on the wall. And then each group puts, or they make use of the objectivity tools, and then they rewrite the text on a sheet using the markers. Each group puts up the work on a wall, and then they exchange places to read each other's work and leave feedback and comments. After that stage, members of each group take part explaining their choices to the other groups and instructor and respond to the comments left. So by this, students will grasp how to identify biased information and how to apply tools of objectivity. The second activity is the four corners. And the purpose of this activity is to help your students differentiate between objective and biased information. The materials you need for this is our TV screen or overhead projector and A4 paper. And for this, you need to bring 4 pieces of A4 paper. Write the titles objective, biased, less objective, and less biased, each on each paper. And then post each piece of paper on a different corner around the classroom. After that, show a paragraph on the screen. Students have to decide which corner or to which corner the paragraph belongs. Each student moves to the corner he or she thinks it describes the paragraph. And at that point, students should explain why they think so. For example, students who are standing at the biased area, they have to explain why they think the paragraph is biased. And those standing at the less biased area, they have to explain why the paragraph is less biased, and so on. An instructor provides feedback to each explanation. Then steps 4 and 5 are repeated 2 or 3 times till the concepts are clear enough to the students. So those are just fun examples that you can convey objectivity through to your own students. You can find more examples of hedging and boosters on these 2 websites, and you can explore a variety of activities through which you can demonstrate and convey objectivity to your students. So thank you.